So officially welcome to the Climate Action Accelerator Program Spring Fair. And this is our first of what I'm sure will become an annual event. I want to only briefly acknowledge Turtle Island, because I know that many of you are doing it to some degree in your presentations as well. So I just want to say that I feel so grateful that we are coming together from across Turtle Island, and the geographic and political boundaries that are drawn on this land sometimes really don't need to be there for this work. And it's just been such a pleasure to get to know different parts of Canada and Turtle Island through all of you. And we hope that that can be an even richer part of our learning together over the year ahead. So thank you for being here. As you all introduce your schools, we know that you're going to be mentioning your the territory on which you are coming. A couple just quickly before we get really into things, throw your Instagram handles in the chat, particularly but particularly I mean the school ones, and many of you have started green Instagram accounts, I've noticed. So please throw them in the chat so we can follow each other and help to, do all those liking and sharing and things. So what we're doing today is every school is going to have up to 6 minutes to share some or all of these things. And there is no pressure to share all of it, some of it, just whatever you thought was a highlight to bring is what we're excited to see. But this was the original list that schools had on what was going to happen, how they could form their presentations. After 2 to 3 schools, so today's schedule is gonna be a little bit different than how it looks, because there's some bigger breaks. So we'll see what you want to do in those moments. But after 2 or 3 schools, we're gonna stop and have time for questions, affirmations, discussion about what you saw. So we'll let either 2 or 3 schools go ahead, and then we'll have you have your questions sort of at the end of a section of schools. So feel free to either put your questions in the chat as you think of them, or be ready to raise your Zoom hand, and we will call on you. So this is the schedule for today. TFS is first, and then Trinity College, Southridge, Lower Canada College, the Sterling Hall School, Appleby College, and St. Anne's and St. Andrews. And then stay to the end, because we've got a preview of some of what we're working on for next year and an announcement that's kind of fun, I think. So you'll want to stay to the end if you possibly can. Tomorrow, you're also all welcome tomorrow for any or all of it. Tomorrow we have 10 schools presenting, and so this is the roster tomorrow. And in terms of sharing, I know that not everybody can spend 4 hours this week, maybe any week, in something like this. So we will, everything is being recorded, doubly recorded. So we'll make sure that we get stuff up on the cohort A and B web pages Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday. Then we'll do some editing of some of that and get schools permission to make some of what we've presented public. We'll only do that publicly if you're ready to share. So it won't be probably all the schools, but schools that are ready, we're going to hopefully be able to highlight some of your work. And then I'm also going to do with the CAAP team a summary of the lessons learned and the leading practices, and just try to bundle up something that we can share in a couple of different ways. It could be that I have a presentation, I might record a presentation, I might write it in a blog. We'll see what the formats are, but we're going to try to gather up some of the best learning from CAAP so far to package out for you and for any school that wants it. So I want to make a plug for you to please share your slides, share your documents. I've already been asked, does anybody have a climate action plan example from another school they can share? I've been asked that a couple of times. So anything that you're ready to share, please do send it over, and let us know if it's a public sharing or just a CAAP school sharing. We know that some things will be too sort of work in progress-ish to share publicly, but we ask that you share whatever you can, because we're just all trying to help each other learn and go faster. Any questions about any of that? Okay. And so then I also want to say, we're going to see just a radical range of presentations today, I expect, and it's all great. Everybody is on their own path. Every school is in a different situation. Some of you are bigger, smaller, you have some of the resources that you need, some don't. it's all great. Don't worry about it. We know that that's been how we've been embracing things so far, but we wanted to just reinforce that that is the intent for today. And so for people that are joining us who aren't typically part of CAAP, we just want you also to know that these schools are in a whole range of places, but that this is a really exceptional group that has said yes and is really going for it. So we're just going to be celebrating all of that today. Is there anything else that any questions people have, anything from my CAAP team I meant to say but haven't? I hope you're not sick of these tulips. You can tell I'm kind of in love with them. Okay, well then, are we ready to go? TFS, are you ready to go? Oh,
Michelle, I will just mention quickly
yes.
that everyone has 6 minutes. So at around 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes, you'll see me go time. So keep an eye out for that, just to keep us on schedule and moving.
Is that all right? Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing TFS.
Okay, hi everyone. So hopefully you can see our slides here. So essentially we wanted to start off we just added our land acknowledgement that one of our students wrote for our sustainability dinner last week. So we are on the land of the Wendat, the traditional land of the Wendat, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Métis Nation. It's currently home to many nations. And TFS, I put here a picture of our 2 campuses. We have a West Campus and our downtown Toronto campus, which houses about 6 buildings from a daycare center all the way up to grade 12. And we are so fortunate. I think one of our strengths is how many, like the leadership and just diverse representation on our team. So we have the head of school, a principal of the junior school, head of facilities, the manager of communications. We have 18 students ranging from grades 4 through 12. 5 teachers, one who's also a parent, and we have 3 parents participating that are also on the foundation board, so who can really help kind of communicate and hopefully find some funding for some of the student-led initiatives, which we will hand out to Sarah.
Hi. Okay, so through all of our CAAP meetings, we've had lots of time to brainstorm about our passions, our interests, our superpowers. And so the students are going to share with you some of the main things that came up, transport being one of them, waste being another, and then through some of our curriculum that they've been doing in class, ravine restoration is another topic that's come up. So first we can have Lauren sharing about transport. Sorry.
Hello. So during February, we decided to start a campaign, a no idling campaign, and we called it Fresh February. And so we started off with a data collection where we went around the parking lot and we counted all of the cars that were idling. And then for all the following weeks, we made posters and we went around to show our signs to all the people who are idling and hopefully get them to stop. We were able to get a good amount of cars to stop. And we did a data collection after that. I don't have the numbers for that. Maybe we can share that. But when we looked at our numbers, we got really interested in transportation as a whole. And we did a transportation audit at the school to look at how the students are coming to school and other ways that we can improve that.
Next, we have Summer to talk to us about waste.
Hello, I'm Summer. So for our waste, we've definitely been trying to reduce the impact that we have on our environment through the trash that we produce. And one of the ways we've been doing that, we've tried Waste Squad, where we've had a group of students at lunchtime near all of our bins in the cafeteria, letting people know, okay, this is the bin you put your garbage in, your recycling, your organics. Although that helped in the moment, after those people were gone, it didn't really affect people in the long term. So one way that we're hoping to improve that is we're looking at getting Oscar waste sorters at our campuses, so that can help improve the long-term impacts we have on our waste and help, it lets you know, okay, when you put an item up to the screen, this is where you can put it. And that'll help with the long-term, like, educational side of things. So people will know, once they throw it out once, then they know from there on where to put their waste.
Okay, and then to talk about our ravine stewardship is Elise.
Hi, so this year we did our first ever sustainability and restoration ravine dinner. It was after school and we had over 200 parents, students, neighbors, and anyone who wanted to learn about the ravine that we have behind our school. And we basically told them all what type of species we have in a ravine, which ones are invasive, which ones we want to keep, and talked about what our plan was using ArcGIS and where we'll be able to track which trees are there and which species are present and not. And we also talked about different applications that we use, so ArcGIS and Picture This to do this. And we just wanted to raise awareness and tell them what our plan is for the future using the system and how we're going to improve the restoration of our ravine.
And so just to show kind of what we did during Earth Week, we actually prepared a video for you. So I'm just going to play that right now.
School chefs, so the former chef Thomas and the current chef Nick.
So what Bean Forest would look like when it has 100% native trees.
And hi, I'm Tamara. That just brings us, I know we're sort of out of time, but that just brings us to sort of this year. What we've been doing is straddling, helping support the students and the initiatives that they want to drive, and then making sure that we include that voice in our climate action plan, and then also driving our climate action plan, you know, where for that longer term goals. These are the 9 overarching goals that we're starting to settle on that represent the organizational culture, the collective learning, and the physical space. But, you know, this is with some of the challenges we faced is just thinking about the metrics and how to track this and the funding and the time. But we're going to put our team together in June for a full day and hopefully, you know, be able to pull the research that we do for this next little bit all together on that day in June. And that's it in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Thanks, TFS. All right, we're gonna hold back on questions and comments, but you're welcome to clap. TCS, do you want to go next?
Sure thing. With a much more dull presentation. That was fantastic. Here we go. Let's get things sorted here. Okay. So, just a second. We've got a good 20 or so of our green reps are at sports this afternoon and can come tomorrow. So you've just got me, and we are here in Port Hope, Ontario on our beautiful 100 acres, and very grateful to be on the traditional lands of the Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, Wendake, and Anishinaabewake. And we are beneficiaries of the Williams Treaty of 1923. So some of you have heard from me before about our crazy array of buildings from 1882 all the way up to 2017. So when we're talking sustainability, we are often trying to troubleshoot our old buildings. So at the same time, we are coming out of one sustainability plan that we were using for sort of the last decade and launching into a new one. And we're so happy to have the push from CAAP to up our compellingness of our vision and make sure that we're using a mantra that our whole school can repeat and can use. And so it will probably come as no surprise to some of you that what we are using is our MOGO. And MOGO we've been using on campus as a concept for doing more good instead of less bad. And we've been using that for good 4 or 5 years, but now we've decided to make it our full mantra for our sustainability and regenerative practice program. So MOGO now, MOGO for the future. And this is something that's being picked up in the language around the school, and we're hearing staff and students using it. So into our whole school sustainability approach, and sorry, these slides are kind of boring, but from an update perspective, we can get what we need. Because we want to be more practical in our focus for the campus part of whole school sustainability, we've got a very specific strategic direction, which is transform our campus into a living lab, one whose facilities tackle climate change, educate our community for the future, and operate most efficiently. So I have put a few of our latest progress features here, and you can kind of read through the list. A lot of the stuff you're going to see is not big wow items. They are sort of very much the kind of items you need to do with old buildings. And with our audit that we had done a year ago, we've been lucky to get sort of estimates of if we do this many room control retrofits or this many insulation square feet in the various attics, then we will get this percentage of greenhouse gas reduction from our footprint. So we're just ticking away on some of those boxes, and then trying to also work on comfort and that sort of adaptation side of climate action, which where we don't have a lot of air conditioning in our buildings or fans. We're trying to really work on those as well, so that we are on the coping with climate change part and not just trying to stop it. From a curriculum standpoint, we're kind of all about the habits and the values when in our approach, and we're really pleased. Our co-curricular program is really has a ton of sustainability, green, and regenerative practice built into it, and only growing. We're still trying to get our academics more up to speed with more embedded concepts, and some teachers are really on board, and we're just sort of working year by year with PD to help teachers across the curriculum spectrum figure out how to embed environmental ideas into their work. Couple things, if you want to know about this super cool trip our grade 8s did to Costa Rica in the winter to a sustainable farm, be happy to share that kind of stuff. So inspiring, and just changed some of our kids' lives going there. And also some of our seniors have been out to an eco farm on Vancouver Island and up to Cree Camp up in Northern Ontario. And some of those things are really helping change values in our kids. And that's sort of a root goal of ours for the future. Culture-wise, this has always been my kind of favorite area of my job, is working with both the students and staff to take us from awareness to action. This is always our overriding goal, is we're a very aware school, and as we graduate people out or have staff change, how do we keep that awareness up, and how do we transform awareness into actual habits and action? So yeah, we've had lots of fun stuff going on. I encourage you to go on to our Green TCS Instagram and see pictures and stuff. Our MOGO, which is more MOGO contests that we held for Earth Day, was super fun and had really high engagement. I think 125 people played it. And it's a teaching tool, teaching people to judge the behaviors in their lives, as well as just a fun game game to play. You'll see there, I made a note about our environmental club kind of struggling a little bit this year. Our green leaders are off to the races, but our club is sort of like, oh, people don't want to talk to us about the bad of climate change and so on. And so that's something that we've flagged and are figuring out how we can help them next year by connecting them with other clubs so that they feel action instead of just a sense of doom and gloom and so on, like we've all talked about.
That's about 7 minutes, Allie.
I should probably stop talking then. I threw in some pictures for the end there, and all of these are found on our green TCS, and always happy to share, and thank you.
That's great. Okay, one more school, then we'll have about 10 minutes to ask questions and have a conversation. So Southridge, you're next.
All right, thank you. I'm Darren, and Ella's joining me in my office today. We've got a few other Southridge folks on the call. Hopefully you can see my screen. I'm going to start us off, and then if anyone from Southridge, Sean, Allison, Maya's here, Ms. Van Prague is here, want to jump in, please feel free to do so. We are Southridge. We are on the West Coast. We are a K-12 co-ed day school located on a 16-acre campus in South Surrey, British Columbia. Our buildings sit on the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Semiahmoo, Tsawwassen, Stolo, Katzie, and Kwantlen First Peoples. And I will just anecdotally inject that I had a meeting last week with a Semiahmoo First Nation artist, and we talked for a number of hours, actually. And it was very interesting to hear about the continued environmental work that the Semiahmoo First Nation people are doing, working with our government to ensure sustainability. It's fantastic. So in terms of our plan and our progress, where are we now? We're in the second year of our Environmental Stewardship Action Plan. Our plan relies on a whole school approach with many folks, students, teachers, and non-teaching staff, reporting back on key initiatives throughout the year. I think it was similar to TFS, our whole school approach. We've got about an 18-member committee that meets regularly, including the head of school, myself, I'm the assistant head of school, members from the business department, facilities, Marcom, student members from our junior school green team and our senior school environmental clubs, and teachers as well. So it's an all-in effort. This year, we're working on completing 60 key initiatives as a school, environmental key initiatives as a school, from waste reduction and management to reducing carbon emissions and everything in between. I'll move on to the next slide here. Oops. So our compelling vision, this is one of the things that we're still working on. We're still working on how we'll balance our qualitative targets for waste and emissions reduction with a compelling vision that's supported by the overarching goals and the authentic narrative that Michelle's talked about with us around our progress. What we have been doing is fortunately working with Stephanie and Michelle to educate our board so that our board will feel prepared to support the compelling vision that we do come up with and better understand the role that good governance plays in this practice and planning. So we don't have our compelling vision yet, but we hope to do that with our board after some education work. Highlights of our work. I'm going to turn things over shortly here to our students to share more and teachers to share more, but really everyone has played a role in our journey so far. The plan is not led by one person. It's an all-in effort here. And like I said, the board education, they've shown a willingness and a desire to learn more in this area so that they can support our targets. And you see the image there, that's Maya. We recently had a piece in the local newspaper about some of our environmental initiatives. So I'm going to turn it over actually to Miss Ito for a moment, just to talk about what the junior school green team has done, and then Maya and maybe Ella can just jump in with some of the senior school progress.
So my name is Allison Ito, and I am the teacher sponsor for the junior school green team. And one of the big changes we made this year was originally when we started the green team 4 years ago, it was just for grade 6 and 7 students as sort of a leadership opportunity. But we were finding that sometimes they targeted things to older students and we weren't getting the buy-in from the younger kids in the school. And we really wanted more school participation. So this year we opened it up to an entire school, junior school green team council. So there are representatives from each class that come to a meeting once a month. And then those students go back into their classroom, and in the context of the grade that they're in, they take the initiative that our green team has sort of given the, shell of this is what we're planning to do, but then they plan in their class what that would look like at their grade level. And we've had a lot more participation through doing that. Another thing that we've done is we have something called Green Team Minutes, and these are just 1-minute videos that students in the Green Team prepare on something that they're passionate about. Sometimes they make these videos at home, like in their garden, or with sustainable products that they're using in their house. And we put those into assemblies so that we always have some kind of environmental component to our assemblies that can highlight things that are happening not only at school, but also in students' homes as well. And then the last thing is just we have these ongoing initiatives, and a lot of them we started last year when we joined Eco Schools, but we found that they sort of, they were highlighted for a short amount of time, but they didn't gain traction. So we wanted to go back to a bunch of the things that we had started last year and just go a bit deeper and get more participation and buy-in from the whole school. So we've been focusing on waste management, goose bins, switching out any sort of single-use plastics. We've started a drive with soft plastics this year, food waste, and lights off initiatives. And my guess is those will continue to be things that we focus on next year as well.
Thanks for the update, Ms. Ito. Over to Maya.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Maya, and I am the leader of our Senior School Environmental Club. And this year we have over 15 committed members who help lead our school-wide initiatives, such as bottle drives, Earth Week activities, and a lot of other Eco Schools initiatives. And so this year we've increased our utilization of social media and digital signage and our school's weekly Wednesday articles to involve the school community and greater community in environmental initiatives that we are leading and implementing within the school. So one of the main issues that the Environmental Club tackled this year was idling. And in an effort to reduce the emissions of harmful gases into our atmosphere, we launched an anti-idling campaign, which involved an initial audit of how many drivers are leaving their engines on over an extended period of time. And we then placed emphasis on education and building awareness in students and the school community through anti-idling signage around our parking lot. But overall, I'm very happy with the immense progress that the Environmental Club has made with regards to our student involvement and our overall impact on sustainability and climate action as a school.
Awesome, Maya. Thank you very much. And so what's next for Southridge? Well, like I mentioned, it's to set our compelling vision and specific targets with board and input and approval there, and then to continue to fulfill the key initiatives that we've already identified in our plan and keep us busy throughout the year. So we've got a lot of momentum. It is a whole school approach, as both Ito and Maya have mentioned, and we're happy to take any questions if we can after this. So thanks for listening. Great.
Thank you so much, Southridge. Okay, so we have 10 minutes that we'll take to see if you have questions for any of these three fine schools and what you saw there. Anything you just want to say about how awesome they are?
Yeah, I just want to TFS the Ravine dinner. Wow. That is I'm trying to think of the phrase that I would say, like, your influence in your community as leaders in the community beyond the school. That's incredible. I was, of course, like, who paid for it? Because it's a brilliant idea, and I'm so curious about a few of the logistics behind that. And maybe someone at TFS could just give us just like 30 seconds, or email me or put it in the chat or whatever.
Hi there. Yeah. So it was a fantastic event. But I will say I would have let Monsieur Godet or Norm Godet speak to that, but I'm not. Norm, are you there? Just checking. So our head of school. This was his inspiration, and he put it together. I think ultimately it will lead to some fundraising that will then contribute to the Ravine effort and help with the dinner. But yeah, it had really good attendance, which signified to us that I think a lot of people are really interested in this issue. We had Eric Davies, who is a forest ecologist, speak at it, and I think that also helped bring out the crowds, knowing that this is a common issue in Toronto, and we also had students speaking at it as well. but I can get Monsieur Gaudet to give more information about it.
Yeah, and just to give context, because I didn't mention in the beginning, we have 26 acres of ravine, and it is some of the more ecologically healthy. So there's, you know, strong importance to really steward this land. And Tam and the other teachers have been doing a great job of integrating that into the biology curriculum. So the idea was, you know, hopefully we can get some funding as well to continue the mapping, because, you know, those technologies do have costs with them as well.
We have a question from Mary at another not-for-profit in this same space. Go ahead.
Thanks, and congratulations to all the schools and the school communities. It's so amazing and inspiring, all the work that you're doing. I just have two questions. One, I'm super curious to learn a little bit more about the MOGO game. That sounds really interesting to me. And it sounds like it also had great participation and good feedback from everyone who participated. So I'm curious to hear a little bit more about that. And I also am curious about benchmarking. I know the schools are working on setting targets and benchmarking against like a baseline. So I'm curious how that's going and what the challenges are with that.
Well, I can comment on sort of MOGO and leave benchmarking to someone else if need be. Yeah, we've just really been trying to flip the lens on environmental work, because often so much of it is about reducing and that idea of restriction. And so we've been using the MOGO idea for a while and just working with different they flip their practices. But for Earth Day, we just set up a Google form, actually really simple, 10 questions with pairs of products or pairs of behaviors in each question. So there's a question with a picture of a group of people in a car carpooling versus one person in a car. And then people just had to go through the Google form. They had a QR code they could scan at our Earth Day display, go through the form, answer the questions, picking which of the two situations in each question was more MOGO. The criteria they work on is sort of reusable versus single use, biodegradable versus not, local versus not, and kind of sort of a set of criteria for product use and disposal of products. And then, the thing was self-scoring. So people got their score right away. And then we said anyone who got perfect, their name went in a draw. And I had a Yeti mug, and those things seem like hot commodities. And then gift cards to 3 of our most sustainable local independent restaurants and a store. And people just went for it. I also offer Green Cup points. We have this challenge all year long called the Green Cup, with a trophy at the end of the year for our houses. And I said, if your house participates, you get Green Cup points as well. So it's all just sort of leveraged participation, but it trains people at the same time. People have been coming up to me in the lunch line, like freaking out because they got one question wrong and they don't want me to think they're not MOGO and how can they do better. And so it's a culture piece and an education piece kind of mixed in together, and it's working for us right now as we've been building it for a few years, this sort of mantra.
And if you like, I can speak briefly to the benchmark piece, and then you can pipe in on the dashboard part, Michelle. But Mary, all the schools are looking towards creating benchmarks in the 3 areas of the whole school approach. We've made some inroads on sort of the nuts and bolts of energy benchmarking using the Ontario Sustainable Schools benchmarks, and benchmarks comparing to similar sized schools in the region. But because we are a group of diverse size and types of schools with different energy intensive uses, it's hard to do, but we are looking towards future benchmarks as we get further down the road on the cultural change and the academic collective learning side as well. And Michelle's been pushing hard, helping us to develop a dashboard prototype that we're hoping to adopt.
Yeah, maybe I'll say more at the end, but just to say to all of you schools as well that Stephanie and I've had a lot of hours of meetings with different potential suppliers and people that are in various stages of working with mostly higher ed, but some K-12 as well, to find a way that we can all be putting our baselines in and be putting our goals in, and to have it have a regenerative level to the scale. Like often these scales exist, but they stop at 50% reduction of such and such, and we want to get, we want the goal to be 100%, even if we're moving along the way. So we're, in some cases, we're having to be thought leaders to say, well, that's good, but what we'd love to do is talk about MOGO, talk about how do we be, restorative and regenerative, and how can you add those to your scales. So we're getting close. We think we have something that we can work with, and we will have more coming soon. And there's a demo next week for people, and I've recorded a demo we've already had though, so we'll share it all out next week and beyond. And so Mary, happy to talk to you more about that too later. How are we doing on time? Any questions for Southridge? I don't know if they any comments for Southridge. I could give a shout out. I had the pleasure of being invited to speak at the ISABC some professional development for teachers and also for parents that they hosted virtually in, what was it, January or February, Maya? So 2 students at Southridge joined me, and they did a fantastic job of sort of co-presenting to a group of parents and educators what they were doing at Southridge. And it really is the case. This whole school sort of adult student partnership, this intergenerational approach is really powerful and inspiring. And so bravo to Southridge for all your work as well. All right, you want to hear that for the next group of schools? So we have 4 left. We have LCC, Sterling, and then we have Appleby and SAC. And Appleby and SAC are videos. So my suggestion is that we do LCC and Sterling, then we'll pause and do the same, questions, discussion, and then we'll show Appleby and SAC, and we can have more discussion, and then I will share the updates and the looking ahead to next year. And we can have any more conversation about sort of the themes and what you're seeing after watching all these schools present. Well then, LCC, you're up.
All right. I seem to have drawn this particular stick, so I apologize in advance because everybody else's presentation is going to look a lot more polished. I am not a PowerPoint guy. I'm a stand in front of the class and deliver as a drama teacher kind of guy. But I will do my best, and so I will share my screen. I apologize. I can't actually show I can't post the slides at the moment because our IT people confine what I can share to inside of our building. So I will do my very best to share that when the time allows. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'll just have to copy it over to some other account. All right. So Lower Canada College, I didn't add many things about the school because, frankly, it hadn't occurred to me to doing the promo sort of thing, but we are in the Ganagaka Nation ancestral land, and we are in Montreal. We are a K-12 school that has been here for 100 years, give or take, and it is a fully urban school. I am very jealous of the Ravine because we have very little space to work with in many ways. So a lot of the presentation here is actually focused on our sort of facilities environment and what we can do to make that progress in the direction of regeneration, since we have a limited number of opportunities in some ways. Okay. We're very fortunate. We joined CAAP after our board had already put a pillar in place of environmental action as one of our strategic development goals for the next 5 years. So we are in a very privileged position in some ways that there's already a consciousness going on about this. But of course, it's easy to adopt it, and what you actually end up doing with it ends up being the complexity. So we have 2 positions that are actually specifically for this, one of which is mine, which is sustainability coordinator. And another is we have a junior school that has a coordinator that is specifically for sustainability and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there's huge overlaps there. And so we end up working together quite frequently. And there's actually quite a team of people that have a component of their job. And some of them are in here watching me do this. And so we'll see how that all goes. I wanted to get relatively quickly into some of the things that we've been doing, but given what you just mentioned, Stephanie, about the and Michelle about benchmarking, maybe skipping over some of the things we're doing right here and going directly into the dashboard that we are already working with makes more sense. So this is our dashboard as it stood 2 days ago. You can see we started doing it, and this is the 2022 data. So that's why there's gaps in the composting, recycling, and waste, electronics, these sorts of things. This was actually already turning out to be a fantastic tool because it pointed us. I had thought that our air impact was actually considerably higher than it was. Now, one of the things is our plane information is out of date and it's not fantastic, but our bus information turned out to be the big eye opener. And so we just had a meeting very recently about changing that over. So how can we alter the way we do busing and how can we reduce that? And we came up with the idea of an internal carbon tax on using buses that are diesel powered versus electric. And so I cannot emphasize enough how advantageous collecting data is, because it will get rid of many of your ideas about what you thought you were doing and get it into the land of things that you're actually doing. So anyway, this is what we're working from. Many of our decisions have been based on this. And we don't have targets set specifically, except to drop many of these numbers down to as close as zero as possible. So as Michelle mentioned, 50% is what many places consider to be an acceptable use. But well, if we can get all of our buses to be electric and all the buses rentals that we do electric, that would be an acceptable goal. Anything less from the people I'm speaking with is generally considered to be unacceptable. And we've had very good buy-in that there's ways of doing this. And presented it in a way, different people's contributions are different things. But anyway, our headmaster is very much engaged in this. Our board is actually quite good. So I think we are in a privileged position that way. Our campus, we as an urban school, we have a lot of students that travel various modes. Bike repair station is coming in. Our food services, I heard the battle. I think it was TFS that was having the difficulty where they show everybody how to compost and that sort of thing, and then it only lasts as long as you're there supervising. This is a constant battle that we're under, but we continue to attempt it. We have beehives installed around the school now, electric car stations. LED lighting is all scheduled for changeover. We're moving all this stuff. And the big driver at the moment that's really got people excited is the possibility of expanding our roof, because we have no space to grow. And so how do you grow in a way that actually is regenerative? Turn a dead roof into a green space. And so that's something that we're really going for, because there's nowhere else for us to go. It's perfect. Expansion is not necessarily a goal that you want to have, but making use of a roof is a fantastic opportunity. Thank you. 1 minute. Understood. In our education, this is where I think our primary challenges are, is getting sufficient buy-in. Many people had their students presenting. Amazing. I love it. Getting students to feel like they have the ability to make changes around this institution is actually one of the big things that I'm going to be focusing on in the future, is convincing them that the changes that they think need to be made can actually be influenced by them. So we have a fab lab or a makerspace area, and the people that we've employed to run the place are circular economy they're divas. They know this stuff inside and out, and they're training the students bit by bit to do this kind of thing. So hiring people that believe in this is incredibly important, and it's a question that should be done in interviews. And so that was the lesson, that in some ways our action plan is hiring people who have this as a component of their thought already, and it goes a long way to easing a lot of the transition through a lot of this stuff. So anyway, I'm keeping in mind the 6-minute penalty. Thank you. Done. Wonderful.
Thanks so much, Chris. There's no penalty, but we're just more or less trying to keep on time. Thank you very
I
much.
respect that a lot. I live by the bell, so.
Right, as do so many of you. All right, and Sterling, is that you already queuing yourself up there?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Drew Gullius, and I work at the Sterling Hall School in Toronto. I'm here today with a couple of colleagues, River Cochin and Anna Villanueva. River is our outdoor educator at Sterling Hall, and Anna teaches grade 4, 5, 6 science. And thanks for the moment. This is the first paragraph of our land acknowledgement. We meet, learn, play, and are nourished today on land within the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, as well as the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and Haudenosaunee peoples. And these lands are specifically referred to in the Toronto Purchase Treaty number 13 of 1805 and in the Government of Canada 2010 settlement with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. That's a piece of our land acknowledgement. We're a K-8 all boys school. We sit on 7 acres in a fairly sort of commercial industrial neighborhood. The school is 35 years old this year, and we've got 320 students who spend the days here. We're a day school. Today, where we're really going to be sharing with you our main work this year, I feel, has been diving into the curriculum and developing our curriculum around green learning and eco learning. And so that's most of the content that we're going to be sharing with you today. This is a quick look at something that we have going on right now in our student club. We call it the CAAP Club. This is our board of all the things that we're working on. And then this is just a bunch of native seeds that we've got going so far. And this is a map of where some campus regeneration is going to be happening. This is just a chunk of right next to our driveway. And so we're just starting on a piece of grass and going to just try and start growing. And we've got students who are very engaged. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to River to talk about what they're doing with the very youngest in our school.
Hi, everybody. My name is River, and as Drew said, I teach outdoor education at the school. So I teach students in JK to grade 5. They all get a class of outdoor ed every cycle. Some of the things we do with the students is spending time outside in nature, and we're just trying to work on deepening their connection to the earth. We're trying to foster that natural curiosity that they all have in many different ways. So one of the ways is through the mud kitchen. Students love this. They come outside in all weather, rain, snow, hail, whatever the weather. As you can see in the pictures, they engage in getting creative and making things in the mud kitchen and collaborating with each other, as well as being engaged. And another thing that we do is we try to collaborate as much as we can with specialty teachers and homeroom teachers. So one of the things we did was outdoor ed and art came together to bring nature into the classroom. So we went in art class outside foraging and grabbing materials to make our own, make ink that the students can then make art with. And this is the learning garden. So we have a learning garden where students can make a connection to the food and through growing it. So we plant the seeds in the spring and grow them inside. They get to harvest the food a little bit before going off for the summer. And then when they come back in fall, they get to see the garden in full bloom and harvests from the garden, taste things. As you see in the pictures, they're exploring and they're looking for insects and pollinators and just, again, working on building that connection to the earth.
Anna?
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. I'm our grade 4, 5, 6 science teacher. And I wanted to talk about a unit that we did in science today that was based on regeneration. We collaborated very heavily with River in our outdoor education department. That was a big goal of ours too, was to figure out how we can introduce this idea of regeneration with bringing in River into the project. So it was amazing to have them. We started the year in science with our biodiversity unit. Like Drew said, we go to a school where there isn't a lot of immediate green space available, similar to LCC. So that we knew that we had to get the boys buy-in, and we wanted to start off with a really strong hook. So we started the year with a case study, and this case study is called The Investigation of Carter Creek. It's a pre-built kit from NASCO, originally intended for high school, but we adapted it to fit our grade 6 curriculum. And basically what we had to do was investigate which of the lakes that you saw in that map was responsible for contaminating this fictional town. And immediately the boys were very engaged. We took different samples, water samples from each of the towns. And after collecting all the data, we realized that there was a certain area contaminated. So we did a walk around the school, our school, after we did the investigation. And without any prompting, the boys were already looking for areas that were healthy versus not seemingly healthy. And we found this really dry patch of soil along our school. And so the boys brought up the notion of contamination and what we had learned from the Carter Creek lab. And they decided that they wanted to investigate what was wrong with that patch. So we took soil samples from that dry piece of ground, and we took samples from the learning gardens where River worked with a lot of our boys to grow beautiful things on. And the boys started conducting their own tests to figure out what was wrong with the soil. So we bought a soil testing kit, which you could get off of Amazon very easily. And from that kit, you could figure out what minerals and nutrients are deficient in that soil. And we found out through that test that it was very, very alkaline and a lot of salt was in there. And so it was really cool to see the actual cause of that and for the boys to be the ones to collect the data for that. Out of that conversation, we kind of brought it up a little bit, generalized it to what's going on everywhere else. And we started talking about the soil crisis. So the boys did a lot of investigating with regards to the soil crisis that's happening around the world. And after, to kind of bring it back to regeneration, we decided that in June, we want to bring that place back to life. Let's figure out what prototypes we can make to bring that place back to life based off of the research we did. And so the boys decided that they wanted to build a flower bed that would attract pollinators and place pollinator plants in there. So we did a little bit of a design sprint as well, where they had various ideas, chose from one of those various ideas and built a prototype based on that.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much, Sterling. That was great. I love that story of that little patch of soil next to your, parent drop-off pickup. Okay, so who has questions or comments for LCC or Sterling Hall?
I have a question for Chris from LCC. So I'd like to hear a bit more about this internal carbon tax that you put in place for electric versus
proposed at this exact instant. But yeah, okay. So I was sitting around, and it was sort of helpful because I was sitting around with an economist who gets this stuff, but I don't know what's happening to people elsewhere, but in Montreal, the busing costs have skyrocketed. So we're already looking at that. And so when you have a budget, you're the athletics director or you're something like this, there's a budget you've got for busing. And so what we were going to do, and what the plan is to have whatever the cost of busing is, $800 for a trip or something like that. And then in addition, there's a internal tax on the carbon emissions that come along with that. And so then that's a dial that we can turn to potentially fit that within the budget. So, not everybody has 100% buy-in to all these plans and things that we've got. And so instead we explain, well, this money is going to be then put towards something else. And the idea is it's got to go towards something worthwhile and, hopefully draw actual carbon out of the atmosphere, which of course, if you ever look at carbon offsets, is an incredibly complex and not very inspirational in a lot of ways. It's really hard to separate these things that do work from the things that don't. So anyway, that's meant to at least get people considering when they're making a decision, oh, we'll just rent a bus. We've been pushing a lot more towards public transport, which, that's the plus of us living in an urban environment, is our transport system is actually quite good. It's just underutilized by our our parents to a certain extent, but also everybody in the building. I was like, oh, we'll just rent a bus. Well, you know what? Maybe that's not the best idea when we have public transport. And so our science department has been pioneering this a lot, and the difference is very, very impressive. So it's worked quite well getting people on the public transport. And another idea we have about this is you can actually rent city buses with a driver. And so we might just get some of the younger ones just to have a bus trip from here to the metro station, because a bunch of them have never ridden on public transport, and just get them into this, and then convince them, oh yeah, I can get on the bus and I don't have to get mom or dad to drive me all the way here in whatever SUV they happen to have had. So that little dial to increase the price internally, that's maybe we'll see. It's not there yet. Of course, it'll make some enemies, but that's all right. But unfortunately, it's not as good as Mogo, right? This is less bad. It's not good by itself, but anyway. Oh, I'm on anyway. The mud kitchen, amazing. Love it. It is so fantastic. Getting dirty, best thing ever. So
the most amazing thing about the mud kitchen is it never gets old. It just never gets old. So, Chris, I got a question for you about the cold frame vegetable growing. I did see a couple articles about that happening in Montreal this winter, and I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know how you navigated with your food service provider, and how. I'm also curious, how do you allocate human resource towards sort of maintaining that, because it can't be a small project. So can you expand?
It is right now. I mean, honestly, the cold frames themselves are, the first installation is just like 1 meter by 1 meter boxes that we plunk down in a bunch of unclaimed area. So, we have, like everybody does, there's weird little islands, like the one that you guys had, I believe, that had it's just remnants that somebody hasn't planned for very well, and so we're plunking these frames in a bunch of different locations. Our food services people are not in any way convinced they're going to be using this food. Like, this is the first year of this, so of course we need to then throw it through testing to see how well it's persevered and whatnot. And it's really an attempt to make an integrated project. So each one of these cold frames is around $300. So it's not like it's given away or anything like that. So we had to do a little bit of fundraising internally to figure out where it would all come from. But our older students grew the sprouts and everything, and then we only transplanted them into the ground about a week ago. You may have heard about our ice storm, and so you got to be a little bit moderate in Montreal about what you do at what time of year. But the intent is that we keep having these cold frames popping up in different locations around. And what happens is our facilities people are very gung-ho on this sort of stuff. So, I mean, no doubt have the same experience as I, which is that students go away, they leave, they graduate, and then so how does this something? So I'm very fortunate that our facilities people are very keen on maintaining this growth over the course of the summer. One of the things that's going to help that, hopefully, is that our composting here is a little fragile in some ways, as it is anytime it depends on people. So we actually have a composter in our staff room, a desiccating composter. There's a manufacturer here in Montreal that's quite good at these things. And so I'm constantly composting all of the fruits and vegetables and the sort of stuff that goes through our sort of midday snack. And that goes into the composter, gets dried out, and effectively becomes fertilizer. And then that goes into the cold frames. So you get a bit of a cycle going on there, but it's internal at the moment, right? And I'm promoting it internally so that our staff sees it. I haven't gotten the students involved in it yet, because it was a trial to see how all this was going to run. I don't know, did you have something specific about it? As I say, I can give you all the specs for what ones we ordered. Some of the people at the lab did the assembly.
Like, I'm less interested in the specs, because I think that's probably situation specific, but I'm more interested in, like, how do you talk to your caterer about the fact that, hey, we're gonna provide some of our own greens, and how does that fit in with it? Say, for example, negotiation.
We're on to our third third food services company in 5 years. And we just kept dropping them until they said, yeah, we're into this stuff and we're going to agree with it. So it's not my job to convert a company into one of these, but darn it, I can shop for one that will do it. And so unfortunately, depending on your contracting situation, this is not much of a solution for you, but they're actually sponsoring a rooftop installation for this summer as a test drive. So we avoided all of that issue by hiring a company that was already engaged in these practices anyway. And that just avoided so many issues. Obviously it depends on your local situation, how many tenders you get that lean into what you're looking for. So they're already wanting to help us do this sort of thing anyway. So this was a no-brainer. Anyway, I don't think it's your job to convert someone either. It's just too difficult. But there are companies that are very serious into this stuff, and it's not as hard to find as you might think if you put it on when you're putting out calls for submissions for tender.
Thank you.
That's a great hot tip. Any other questions for either of these two schools, or any comments about food services and your success in getting greens into the cafeteria?
I would just echo what Chris is saying. I think, our chef is really excited about doing some canning with the students, and just having the right team in there. And I don't think we'll ever be producing at scale where it's like a threat to the, it's just kind of more to showcase, right? Get the kids out there, getting connected with nature, getting their hands in the dirt. We're hoping to be productive enough to do some donations to food banks, more, a little bit of clubs eating it, getting some in the cafeteria, and then maybe in the summer when harvests are bigger and no one's around, getting some produce to food banks. We just set up a couple beds at TFS that we'll start planting this week.
Great.
Oh, and I was going to add too, we're planning to do cold frames out of our old plexiglass. So we're working on that design. So hopefully by that Friday. So if anybody's near the Toronto area, we have copious amounts of plexiglass that you all might be in the same boat. But I found for my home garden, it's actually working quite well. So we're going to try and build something in the fall.
So I'd like to, just a quick tip to get into the conversation about the plexiglass. I did use some for cold frames as well at home, and we have to watch out the weight of the snow in the winter. So your design has to be so that the snow can slide off, because they can't withstand that much weight. But what I also wanted to say, and mostly wanted to say, is I wanted to congratulate all the schools that have presented so far, particularly for the students' involvement. And I really loved that we heard the full story of how Sterling Hall students went from a case study all the way to finding a site in their school that they wanted to apply their learning to and see if there was contamination. I really love that you unfolded that whole story for us to show how students can really have agency and change things. And I know that that's the focus of all of the schools that have presented so far. So congratulations for the student action in particular. And that leads me to also sharing something with you in the chat. If you remember, Barb and I were very much working with the students way back in February, January, working on their agency and helping them structure their activities within the school. And one of the things that we had, and you guys were all part of this, was a document where we were looking at impact goals, and we were looking at how many actual numbers of people who are directly involved in climate action in the school. And you had made some goals for April. So what I'm going to do is put the link to that document, because with all the wonderful things we're hearing, those numbers are going to change big time. So we're inviting you to go, all the schools are invited to go and update your numbers on the number of people that are actually involved in climate action. And we will be very happy to share a fabulous new number, in a little while, not today, not tomorrow, but after we've gathered all the data. So again, congrats. And I'm just putting the link in right now.
Already done.
Oh, great. Thanks, Barb. We're such a team.
Okay, any comments for Sterling or LCC? Anything else? Okay, well, let's take a break. shall we take 10 minutes? Would that be good? Let's walk away for 10 minutes and come back at, what is that? 20 minutes past the hour, whatever hour that is in your time zone. And then we will watch 2 videos, and then we will have a discussion and show some previews, and we'll be done well before the expected time, I think. But the CAAP team's happy to stay on and chat with anybody that wants to. But all right, welcome back, everyone. It's 21 minutes past the hour. So we have 2 videos to show you, and then we'll have a conversation about kind of, I'm hoping that everybody's taking away at least one great idea that they can take back to inject into their plans in some way or talk about. But I'm going to share these 2 videos, and then we'll have a discussion.
Hi there, my name's Matt. I'm coming from St. Andrews College. I'm sorry I could not be there in person today. As you're listening to this, I will be on a bus heading to a sports commitment. Looking forward to reviewing the recording of this great cohort's presentations. I'd like to begin my video by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territories of the Wendat and the Anishinaabe peoples, whose presence here continues to this day. We would also like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a place of 2 treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We'd like to thank them and the other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We'd also like to acknowledge the Chippewas of the Kina Island First Nation as our closest Indigenous community. A little bit about St. Andrews College. About 650 students. It's an all-boys school. It's grades 5 to grade 12. It has day and boarding. Recently, our sister school, St. Anne's, just opened for grade 9 girls. And next year, it will be grades 5 to grade 10. It's just across the street, St. John's side road. Below is a map of St. Andrews College. Together with St. Anne's, we have about 150 acres. And some of that are trails and fields and kind of like wilderness willow farm areas, which I'll be talking about a little bit more as well. So our climate action plan process, for this year, we just had one group, faculty group, and talked about green ideas. This year has our implementation of ideas, communication, people being on board has been a lot better because we've taken a holistic school approach, having multiple people, different areas involved, and that's due to the CAAP program. CFO, faculty, staff, admin, athletics, maintenance, facilities, they are involved in these meetings, or if they can't make it, we send the communication of those meetings to them. This has helped us develop a few programs and also documents together. It's still tough, as I'm sure everyone I'm speaking to, their schools are very busy and there's a lot of different stakeholders and also programs going on. But we've had more success this year than I think any other year. Our climate action process, really, we've been starting, in my opinion, square one, building a foundation of this group and then putting in place programs and policies. For example, this year, we do have student-run programs that I'll get into, but one accomplishment per year is what we're trying to do. And that one accomplishment this year is evolving and adding to our green bin program, which I'll get into. We have at the school, 3 groups: a green team in middle school, an environmental council in upper school, and an environmental committee. And those used to be separate, and now they're kind of combined with how we communicate with each other. Programs and events, posters. They used to be, the communication was poor, and because of CAAP, we understand what group is doing and why, and we're able to work together. Also, part of our process is due to CASE. I helped with, we had a CASE accreditation this year at St. Andrews, and I was on the team that looked after the 7.9, and I helped with the 12.7 indicators. And both of these involve carbon footprints and environmental sustainability knowledge and values. So super pumped to be able to work on this for the school, because these are meaningful goals that are set by the Canadian Association that we have to follow and also improve and make better. And so it's being recognized at the school level as well. It was kind of great timing with this case accreditation with Apple. Our vision document creation. So apologies for the small text, but I just wanted to show a couple snapshots of, we this year created a vision document that kind of showed goals that we have, how we're going to measure those goals, the tasks that we have to take to achieve those goals, and also how do we know that we've been successful on those goals. So it's about an 8 or 10 page document that the Environmental Committee created that we put in place at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, if it's not already filled out, we can evaluate if we were successful in those goals or not. Really working on building a culture and community at St. Andrews that is thinking about the environment and also practicing environmental sustainability policies. We don't actually have like a 1 or 2 sentence vision, but we do have objectives and descriptions and aspirations for what we'd like to do. And we're trying to catalog them as well and see what we've done and what we haven't done. This is the first time we've really had a document like this. We've had a green plan before, between 2009 and 2014, but not like a vision document. Some highlights this year definitely are in the cultural and physical space regions of the framework of CAAP. First, we'll talk about physical space. This year, we've met with, gosh, we're already at 6 minutes. Hopefully not. Kept on recycling, Clean River. We want to have additions to our green bin program. And so literally having meetings with these companies, we have green bins at the school, but only in the dining hall. We want to have them all over the school, and not just a recycling bin, but we want to have them all together rather than having to go to separate areas. So those are being implemented at the end of this year, which is awesome. That took a lot of work, and a lot of people in different areas of the school have been working on that. And also the culture of the school. There's a sticker here for a light bulb that's above the light switch. That wasn't created by the Environmental Committee. That was just someone that actually put that in our mailbox. And students are creating their own stickers. So our Environmental Council with students and everything, everyone's kind of getting involved, which is really cool, even if it's not formal. Our next year aspirations. Let's see how this green evolution program works. We're excited. I know that there will be some bumps or some hiccups, but it can be better, and that's what we're trying to do. So having them placed throughout the school, in the boarding houses, not just in the dining hall, in faculty accommodations, and also middle school. We want to have a lot more communication throughout the school, and so every month we're going to be highlighted environmental practices and interviews with people around the school that are on our SAC Today segments. So that is shown every month during an assembly. That is how we're going to engage our student body with what we're doing, why we're doing it, how they can get involved. And taking a page from TCS, we're going to see if we can get a green fund started that can help support these initiatives. Throughout the year, after these CAAP meetings, I've been going to the websites and communicating with other teachers at other schools. So that's been pretty invaluable. Thanks a lot. I'm sorry I went a couple minutes over time today. Really looking forward to watching and listening the other schools share. Go CAAP, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.
Okay, well then I will share with you one more video. This is Appleby College.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackson, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Appleby. We are a day and boarding school in Oakville, with grades ranging from 7 to 12. Now, the land that Appleby sits upon around Lake Ontario is full of Indigenous history. This was once the lands of the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabeg peoples. Most recently, it has been part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for being stewards of this traditional territory. The last sentence was part of Appleby's own land acknowledgement that we have displayed frequently around the school. Now, I hope you enjoy our presentation and the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Here's our narrative description. Biking to the school will be the norm. You can find bike stands outside boarding houses with e-bikes waiting to be borrowed. Renewable energy systems such as solar panels will also be present at school. In the art rooms, students will be repurposing older materials such as paper, and they will be made into new and beautiful art pieces. Students will be seen studying in the Sustainability Hub as well as using its goose paper collection. Tree planting signage will be present for students from all grades, and they can be seen participating in planting trees for the future generations of Appleby students. Many students will gather outside the lawn, soaking up on the sunshine, playing games, and rolling down hills. And finally, one can track the number of butterflies and bees which are pollinating our many wild gardens.
Hi, I'm Nicola St. George. And I'm Laura Hrebenyuk. And we are the Directors of Sustainability and Regeneration at Appleby College. This year, our focus has been on developing our school's climate action plan. We built on the framework and coaching that we received in year 1 through the CAAP program and aligned it with our school's strategic themes. And we came up with 4 distinct areas of focus. Using our overarching goals as a guide, we have been able to create goals and objectives and align these with metrics and targets. And we're working on positioning initiatives within these tasks and goals.
Our climate action plan has been built out to 3 years, and we've identified a set of year 1 tasks, which largely involve meeting with different departments in the school and helping them set their own objectives and targets, as well as establishing baselines for carbon emissions, consumption, and biodiversity. Our plan has been presented to our leadership team, our fellow CAAP team members, and our Sustainability and Regeneration Committee. We have a lot more left to do, but we are feeling excited and hopeful because we now have the framework which will help us focus our plans for becoming a climate positive campus by 2035.
Everybody, my name's Lacey.
And my name's Sarita.
So we're here today to talk about a highlight in our culture and learning space. We have a big list here of some of the initiatives that we've started this year, which we'll talk about more later.
And be sure to follow Appleby Sustainability Council on Instagram. We're almost at 500 followers. So last spring, Appleby partnered with Applebee's, and Appleby was able to get their very own Applebee's. Our beehive is behind one of our boarding houses and has provided a great learning opportunity for students. And we are even selling Applebee honey at Earth Week next week. And students will also have the opportunity to learn from a beekeeper from
Next, we wanted to talk about the SUS Hub, which was a student-led initiative, and basically it's a space on our campus all dedicated to sustainability where students can come and learn. So there's a bulletin board with information, there's a chalkboard that we do a lot of SUS pulls, and we even have a recycling station where students can drop off old batteries, goose paper, old cosmetics, markers to be recycled through TerraCycle, and recently we added a climate action pledge where students can show their commitment.
And this was all possible with the new implementation of a new leadership position, Sustainability Prefect at Appleby. And the last thing we wanted to highlight is some of the new gardens we have at Appleby.
So the first one is the permaculture garden, which you can see on the left here, which basically means that it will regenerate itself. And this was started by the Permaculture Club, and we basically put seeds in with our hope for it, and they'll biodegrade. And then the second thing is the reconciliation garden, which is basically a space on campus for native pollinators, indigenous plants, that we can have a learning experience through there.
Hi, my name is Madhav.
My name is Betty.
And we're going to be talking about the impact of our student-led initiatives. So firstly, as Sarita and Lacey already explained, our Sustainability Hub is a new initiative that we had this year that was organized by student volunteers. And while organizing this last year, we tried to think of a high-traffic area in our school that we could locate this in. And the implications of this year were that a lot of students were able to interact with this area, and this has helped increase student awareness and understanding of sustainability, as well as engagement with these topics.
In school, a variety of
students have also helped organize workshops during the student free times, such as a propagating workshop or sustainable gift wrapping workshop. This has helped students and faculty learn and build practical skills that can help them be more sustainable in their day-to-day lives. Outside of school, there has also been community cleanups led weekly last year and this year that has helped students recognize the need to help a clean campus and appreciate the nature around us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Diane. And mine is Myra. And in the next year, we are looking forward to a couple of things.
This includes our Earth Week activities and initiatives in which we hope to garner support, donations, and community engagement. We also plan to expand what we call our Sustainability Hub, which currently works towards recycling paper, reusing old batteries, providing sustainable water, growing plants, and gaining our community's opinions on climate change at Appleby.
Diane and I have also started our own initiative at school where we incentivize students to waste less food, as this is a large problem at Appleby, by giving them rewards when they reach their monthly goal.
The rewards get better over time, and the goal becomes harder to achieve.
We also incorporate student engagement by implementing compost coaches, which are able to monitor food waste and encourage students to waste less. We also plan to incorporate more systemic changes, like to our food portions, recycling contamination, and transportations in the following year. Thank you.
Some more great initiatives. Any comments, knowing that either of those schools might watch this recording, or we can certainly pass on anything you want to commend them on about what they're working on, what you saw there? Yeah, Chris, and then Allie.
I was going to say, it's always nice to see that other green organization club things are trying to still solve the problem of the compost contamination, which is a perpetual issue that drives me absolutely insane, and I can't understand why it's so difficult. So it's good to see that this is a human thing, which of course means that there's some kind of a problem with humans. So anyway, it's a good reminder. I'm really glad to hear that they're addressing this. The SUS hub thing is a great idea. I'd love to have a central location where people pass by and see this sort of stuff. Very nice.
Yeah, I've had the chance to tour there, and I think it's really a brilliant. There's a water filling station in it, and they've always got polls and things to sign. And did you know? And they're really diligent about changing out the bulletin board all the time, and they're doing a great job with that. It's a great visible symbol of what they're all working on.
And I noticed they were using a chalkboard rather than a whiteboard, so that's a big plus. I fought hard to keep my blackboard, but it went away. They snuck it out from underneath me. So,
I blackboard paint, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Put it on any surface.
Yeah, I know, but it really it's iffy. Its performance is not as good as having the slate stuff, but I mean, getting that these days is very difficult. But yeah. Still, the SUS hub thing is great. It's going to figure out how you can carve out a space for it.
Allie, were you going to say something too?
100%, Chris. But also, the reconciliation garden, that is something that I'm really interested in. And I think it might be a next step in moving forward with some of the reconciliation work we've been doing already. If they had, I don't know, a template or a resource where they're going, maybe it's come from within, which is just beautiful. But if they've got a resource somewhere that they've picked that up from, and that could go into Slack or get emailed or something, that would be fantastic, because we are doing our planning for our TNR work for next year. So it'd be great.
Okay, I've made a note of that. So does everybody have at least one good idea? Throw in the chat one thing that you're saying, okay, I'm going to go and follow up on this one thing. I'm just curious. I'd love to see what those are. It'll be a different list for everybody. And then we just have a few things to share as we close out. So I will.
I just wanted to comment everything that we've heard today and just generally across the schools. It's so heartwarming, for lack of a better term, but that there's so much whole school approach. And I don't know if, 2 or 3 years ago, we thought the same way. And so to really see the evidence of whole school collaboration within the schools, let alone the collaboration within or between these schools, but really seeing how everybody's involving different staff, different students, board, parents. That's the goal. And I think what we're also seeing is that's the fruits of your labor in bringing those people to the table really are very effective. So congrats on that, and keep going. And I think just the idea of setting goals to make your plans, that the actions are far more, I guess, effective or realized. I remember somebody from St. Andrews, one of the young students said, when we set goals for our initiatives, it's amazing. They seem to be more productive. So a little bit of that planning really goes a long way. So congrats to everyone.
Yeah, and actually one of the things I was going to do, but it's more fun to do it within the gallery view, is I was going to invite, if we have some guests that are from either schools that aren't CAAP schools or guests from beyond. If you have any observations or questions, by all means, this would be a moment. I don't know. I don't want to pick on you necessarily and put you on the spot, but I see you smiling there, Mohammed, and Sydney.
Sure. No, I'll give some thoughts. So, hey everyone, my name is Mohammed. I'm the director of facilities at Havergal College. I would say this is the first meeting that I'm attending for the Climate Action Accelerator Plan. And to be honest, like listening and hearing from all the other schools what they're trying to do is pretty informative for us. Especially like I think we all acknowledge that there's a big, huge move for sustainability, and at the school here at Havergal, we're starting to think about, well, given that it's a building from the 1920s, how we can strategize moving forward, because there's a lot of good things you could do, but the reality of the matter, money is finite, and we just have to be strategic with how we achieve these goals. But I think it was a very informative session. I learned a lot from all the different schools, especially TCS. We're also thinking about the master plan and how we can incorporate sustainability and help us pave the way for the future to achieve the net zero targets.
And any advice for Mohammed or for Havergal? Anyone?
Mohammed, I'm going to connect you with my facilities director.
That would be amazing. I'd love that.
Yeah. He wanted to be here today, and he really likes it when there's other facilities directors in the CAAP meetings.
Yeah, and there are lots of them that do attend the CAAP meetings, so you wouldn't be alone if you joined, Mohammed.
Mohammed, I was going to offer that as well. Sean Bremner was on the call earlier today. He's our director of facilities, and he's been instrumental in our plan as well. So I can connect you as well.
Okay, awesome. I can put my email in the chat or whatever is best. Yeah.
Great. See, we're building that movement. We're spreading the word. This is what we set out to do. So that's great. Sydney or anyone else? Did anyone else have any comments? Those of you watching in from the outside a little bit.
Sure, I can jump in. Just wanted to say that it's really inspiring to see what you folks are doing. I'm a graduate student at Lakehead University, and I study basically emotions and climate change education. And I can say from the public schools that I've worked with, you are miles and miles ahead. So we need these leaders in this space, and it's really exciting to see what's happening. And I can't wait to watch it spread. So great work, everyone.
I want to just point out that we're early bird rates for this session. So we're doing some PD for any adult from any school in the United States and Canada who wants to join us in Maine in June. I know it's not perfect timing, and I would be curious to know if you would have been able to go and wanted to go, but it's bad timing. I'd love to know that, because we couldn't get the week later. But for future sessions, I'd love to know if that's the case. So anyway, please, if you do want to register, please do, or send me questions. Mohammed, you'd be welcome to join. I know of at least one facilities person director that's going, and there'll probably be more. So it's for any adult leader wanting to explore K-12 regenerative practices. We have a reading list, which I'll put in the chat, or maybe one of my colleagues could put in the chat, because I'm doing this, but we've started a reading list that's also got podcasts and videos. It's an open document to edit. So if you've got more you want to suggest, go for it. It so excites me to hear that people are doing summer reads with some of these books. So I've heard of a couple of schools now where Hope Matters is the book they're reading. I know Appleby just told me that they're going to have Braiding Sweetgrass for young adults as a summer read for, I think, grade 9 and 10. Anyway, so always a great way to get a conversation started is to all be reading the same books. So if you're looking for suggestions, check out this link. And if you've got suggestions for others, please do add it. Okay, so for next year, we're already talking about next year, of course. We're going to be continuing to build your capacity, we hope, to create and implement your plans and build on them. We want to build on the wonderful student impact work that we started this year. And then I mentioned earlier, we're chasing down a dashboard. We really want there to be the opportunity for you all to have the same kind of dashboard, the same kind of setup where you can be really comparing apples to apples across schools. What I said before is I think it's going to take some work on our part to lead some of these organizations to make it work for us as people working in the MOGO space. And MOGO isn't trademarked, right, Allie? We can all use MOGO, right?
I think so. I mean, I don't go in for trademarks. I don't know. I kind of poached the idea from a Scientific American article a number of years ago, and it didn't use the acronym. It was just an article about how the environmental movement got things wrong by focusing on the negative and the idea of the flip. So yeah, my head likes acronyms, so I just made him an acronym that he'll go for. And it works.
And it works. Awesome. Okay, so let's all use at least the hashtag MOGO as part of our hashtags. And then we need your input. We're going to design next year based on what we learn in these 2 days of spring fair presentations and what you want to dig into more deeply and where your plans identify that there's something you want to learn more about. So that really feeds our development. So we're going to send you a link to a survey. Please let us know. The other thing is that we're now enrolling for cohort C. So please spread the word. Anybody that you think might enjoy joining, might appreciate being part of this network and, working together. We're having the next group come on board. There's one other thing that I'm kind of excited about to tell you about that we're working on for next year. So we've decided that we'd like to have an annual conference that we would host, and we would move it around the country. I promise won't all be in one place. But I will say that I think Southern Ontario, there's been so much wonderful work through ISABC on environment sustainability and that kind of thing that we thought we probably need to start in Ontario. So it would be very similar in concept to how CAAP works, but it would be open to any adult, any student in any K-12 school. And it would be focusing on whole school, high impact, hope-filled climate action. And we would want all of you wonderful CAAP schools to be a huge part of the presentations, the workshops, and, to really have an opportunity to share your learning even more broadly. So we have tentative dates. And I'm saying tentative because I just want to shop it around a bit to see if there's anything that you would say about these dates that is, no, there's a big tournament, there's a big something, but, and I know we won't, it's not like we'll avoid all conflicts, but let me know what you think about these dates. And we're pretty excited to get started. We'll be happy to have anyone that wants to be part of the committee join us. Anyway, what do you think? Who's in? Allie's there. Okay, good. It's much more to come, of course, but we hope we can have a really great event that is really showcasing leading practices, regenerative practices in whole school climate action. CAAP team, anything you would want to add as we start to close out this part one of our spring fair? Maybe something from each of you?
Just looking forward to the next year and seeing the evolution of all your respective efforts on so many fronts.
Yeah, and I would just sort of reiterate what I said. It's just such a pleasure to see how the whole school efforts and collaboration is really flourishing. And if you can think to check in on Slack from time to time, there's still quality things being posted there, and perhaps some reminders. And I'll put again that link that Danielle mentioned. And we'll just sort of see by the end of May if we can post our updated engagement impact factor. That would be really fun to share with everyone. Thanks, everyone.
And I'd like to congratulate everybody once again. And also what I rejoice about in all that we've seen today is the sense of community that's really building between the CAAP schools and within your schools, all around hope and action. And so this is really what CAAP is all about. So thrilled to see all of this unfolding and looking forward to next year indeed.
Yeah. Okay, so the mentoring continues. We're around, but we have no more formal sessions this year. So this is it for all of us getting together on purpose, unless you're coming tomorrow, which you're wide open, welcome to come. It'll be another great day of sessions, of presentations. But if we don't see you, have a fantastic end of the school year. Watch each other on Instagram and like and whatnot. Have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you all in September. And we'll stay on if you have any questions for us or you want to chat after we're done.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks
Thanks
everyone.
Thanks, CAAP team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Great learning today. Thank you.